So, so in the last class, what we have discussed detailing 1D optical waveguide in a ray optics picture, effective index method for 1D optical waveguide. And we have also discussed what are the limitations also, because it is not so easy to get the field profiles, and some more things we'll be discussing. But in spite of that, we get a good picture about uh, number of guided modes, and the number of guided modes or single mode condition, etc. Whatever we can estimate, that is more or less quite good agreement with direct solution from Maxwell's equation, and we can rely on that. For example, if I ask you that what is the thickness of the core layer required, minimum thickness required for single mode guidance, the method we have discussed, if we calculate, that is actually is a good matching if we just calculate directly from the Maxwell's equations, other method. So that is reliable, and we have seen in our experimental results also, they are very good matching to the calculations. Now we will be just the same approach. We'll try to see how that can be extended to a certain 2D optical waveguide. Okay, so let us quickly discuss about 2D optical waveguide. That means guided mode will be confined in two dimension, two direction, and in the third direction it is allowed to guide. Okay, I will take a very simple example of 2D waveguide that is frequently used for silicon photonics. Silicon photonics, you know that we have a handle substrate. Okay, maybe you can change this one. We have handle substrate, and that is interface. This is, for example, your substrate. Okay, silicon substrate, handle wafer. Okay, then we know that there will be a layer called baried oxide. Okay, so you can just think box, so-called box. Basically, it is a silicon dioxide. Okay, and then you have your small layer of, thin layer of substrate silicon, so-called we call it as a SOI, silicon on insulator. Okay, this is the wafer we get. So you can just think about that. This is your lateral section you are just considering. Wafer, 3-layer things. So this substrate normally you can get commercially from 500 to 700 micrometer thickness, and box layer you can get from 2 micrometer to 3 micrometer. There are different customized layer thickness you can have, but these are the parameters normally available for optical waveguides for silicon photonics. And this one typically it is 220 nanometer, but we have also worked with this SOI layer thickness as high as large as 5 micrometer. Okay, so any thickness you can use, and you can design for single mode waveguide or something like that. And how you can define a waveguide structure? So what you do, you can have your you can define a certain width. Okay, and you it's kind of mask, you can say, and then surrounding region you just remove a bit. So that means you are removing, so-called in microelectronics term it is called etching. You are doing some kind of etching here, right? And then here also, this side also it will be etched, and you can make something like this. So, and then you can delete your mask also, remove your mask, then you can get this type of structure. I discussed earlier that this can be considered as a waveguide width. We can define with a parameter W, and that height is rib height is so-called age. We normally consider that, and another one we consider like a slab height age. Okay, so this is the dimension. If we just define, then properly defined, then you can have a guided modes can be you can get a guided mode solutions within this region. In this region, you can see some kind of guided mode solutions that will be confined, and it can propagate if it is your x. This is x, and this is your y. Sorry, this is your y. Then you can consider this direction. So you can consider like this direction light will be guided. So you can something like this, you can define like this. Okay, so this is the longitudinal direction. So light can be confined and it can be guided. So as long as you can define your maintain your cross section, light will be confined, and you can bend or whatever way you can get this. So this is some kind of waveguide. So this is a simple structure of 2D optical waveguide, where core is actually silicic soy layer. That is refractive index we can consider N1 equal to 3.476, something like this. And box layer we can consider N2, that is actually 1.476, and top you can consider N3, which is actually can be year 1.00, or you can have oxide also on the top, that can be 1.76. All the refractive index we are considering at lambda 1550 nanometer. So this is the thing. Normally we it's a kind of waveguide structure people are using for designing different type of integrated optical circuits, and also some commercial products are coming out of this type. This is the basic building block for the silicon photonics integrated circuits. Now I want to study how this type of waveguide you can analyze using the concept so far we discussed in case of 1D optical waveguide. Okay, I will just make a little bit simpler diagram for this. That would be helpful for analysis or discussion purpose, but ultimately the device structure, it will be looking like this. Okay, so simpler structure I can go for this like this. You have this one. Okay, a little bit bigger I make, and you have this one. So this is your waveguide dimension, and here you can have N2, and here it can have N3, and this region it will have N1 refractive index. And as I said that this is your W, as I can write here, and this is your age, I can write, and this is your small h slab height. So these are the three parameters. So we need three parameters: material parameter N1, N2, N3. Those are material parameter. Depending on whatever you use, it need not be silicon, anything else you can consider, but this is the typical example I have taken. And another two parameters, they are actually W, age, small h. Remember that this W and age cannot be equal to 0, but age can be equal to 0. So age can be equal to 0 means you will be getting something like this type of structure. So that can be also waveguide, and that is also frequently used. But if needed, you can keep some slab thickness like this. So how to analyze this type of waveguides? How to define this value of W, age, small h, so that I can ensure that okay, a certain number of modes are guiding and certain polarizations are there. So polarization means, you know, we have defined earlier two different types of polarization. One is TE, another is actually TM, right? And one thing you should also keep in mind that for TE polarization, we have earlier defined okay, maybe we can just define for that your axis also. This is X, and this is Y, or maybe this is y, other direction you can have y, and this is your z. So this is your z direction, the propagation direction, waveguide direction, guiding. That means waveguide parallel to the z. Waveguide axis is parallel to the z axis. That's what. So normally in 1D optical waveguide, we have seen that we have one consideration, that T polarization we have used something either 0 y and 0, that's for special case y component is there, and another hx. Okay, let me this is x-axis. Okay, this is hx 0 and then hz. So this is your TE case, and TM case will be your EX and 0 and EZ, and then magnetic field will be, sorry, this will be H 0, HY and 0. This is the case for 1D. 1D case we have used this thing, but whenever we are writing 2D optical waveguide, normally this is not sufficient case for satisfying Maxwell's equation. We'll see that later. Later it will be clearer. Okay. For the moment, earlier whatever we have seen for 1D optical waveguide, these components, if we consider, that actually is good enough to have a feasible solution and carrying energy along propagation direction for 1D waveguide. Or this type of components needed to carry a certain kind of modes, so-called TM modes, and that can carry energy. But in case of 2D, normally this electric field component, earlier we have seen that is only one component along y direction would be sufficient. But in case of 2D, we have to have one more component, major component, that can be your EZ longitudinal component. So this EZ coming because of the 2D. So I just write here this one 2D, and this, in case of 2D, you have EZ component should be introduced. And for TM, similarly, we can have your HZ component, some longitudinal component has to be introduced. Then only this type of structure can satisfy Maxwell's equation for these two electric field components and two magnetic field components, and then it can guide. It can give sufficient. And other components can present also. For example, EX can present also in that case. EX or UI can present also, but that can be too small compared to other components, so that you can ignore them. Ultimately, you have to consider all the 6 components, whether their solutions are there or not, they are feasible or not for a guided mode. Here also, ultimately, you have to see all the solutions are there or not. But at least you can say that one of the component, UI and EZ, will be very strong. EZ can be a little weaker, and EX will be weakest, maybe close to 0, you can assume. That can be considered a T mode, and this can be considered as TM mode. In case of 2E, when longitudinal components are there, since there are longitudinal component is there, we cannot just simply call TE, transverse electric field mode, or transverse magnetic field mode. Instead, we will call that TE-like mode. TE-like mode and TM-like mode. So all these I'm saying, all these components initially I'm considering, that will help us to analyze this waveguide, single mode condition, etc. Okay, and later on you will find that these components, existence of these components is sufficient for guiding a mode, either in T-like mode or TM-like mode. Any question till now, whatever I discussed? Any doubt? Because this clarification is very important, whatever I am going to discuss in the followings. Yep. So can you unmute? You are asking some question. Go ahead. You unmute.
Sir, here in this coordinate, in for TE, if this, it will be EX.
Okay. Right. You are right. It should be EX. Or maybe what we can do, we can redefine the axis. Maybe I can write this one as y and this one as x. Right. This is a good point. This can be x. Okay. So this way, if you're just considering this thing, Subarna says some important point. So normally TE mode, normally if we propagate this one in this direction, lateral direction, it should be tangential component like that. You can consider. All right. Clear? So now we have to deal one more component. That is what we just put. UI component would be dominant for 1D waveguide, but in this case, we can consider that is actually EZ component can be there also. EZ component means in the longitudinal direction, some components will be available. Clear? So now what we can do, we will use a trick here. Whatever we have learned for 1D waveguide, same 1D waveguide analysis I want to apply here. How it will be done? Let us consider, let us divide this entire cross section into 3 zones. One is you consider zone 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 3. Region 1, region 2, region 3. So you can consider region 1, it is like N1, N2, and N3. And assume that this is a 1D, region 1 is a 1D waveguide of H slab height thickness. Region 2 is also a 1D waveguide with slab height thickness capital H. Okay. And this region 3 also, it is same. Okay. Is that okay? All right. We can have 3 different 1D waveguide. But 1D waveguide, you know, 1D waveguide when we consider something like this. So whenever we are considering 1D waveguide like this, we say that suppose this is your Z direction and this is your say X direction. We say that along Y direction it is infinitely extended. Along Z direction you can have a propagation direction, it is also infinitely. That means YZ plane is infinitely extended, and N1, N2, N3. But whatever we have discussed here if you see, we can assume that region 1, if you are considering this side, left side, we can consider that is a infinitely extended. But right side, you have the middle region of capital H. These things are there, right? Okay, so we can assume region 1 also infinitely extended, and region 2 also, though it is width is W, but we can consider that is also infinitely extended, and region 3 also infinitely extended. We are just only considering their dimension, and we are assuming they are like a 1D waveguide and infinitely extended as we supposed to consider for 1D optical waveguide. So in case of region 1, what we can do, region 1, if I just consider here, region 1 for optical waveguide, we are just 1D optical waveguide, if I just considering. So this axis will be Z axis, that is the propagation direction. And this axis will be, that will be actually your X axis, right? That's correct. So this vertical direction X and this Z direction we are considering, and that direction we are just assuming, right? Is that okay? Any doubt? If I consider region 1 like this, and this thickness is H, and this is your N1, this is your N2, this is your N3. Is that okay?
Sir, then the first terms will also be like N2 and N3, right?
N21?
Like, no, sir, the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you wrote N2, N1, and N3.
Okay, sorry. You forget, I think that was a mistake. Just consider something like this. Here I have written correctly. Is that okay? So region 1 can I define like this? Thickness is H, And z direction we are considering propagation direction as there, and x direction is vertical direction, and y direction I am considering infinitely extended. So region 1 I am considering y direction infinitely extended, and light supposed to propagate along z direction and confinement along x direction. Is that fine?
Sir, but y is only semi-infinite in this case for region 1.
Yeah, so region 1 it is you see, normally right hand side, normally for 1D waveguide, what we supposed to get? This is supposed to be extended, right?
Yes,
Infinitely extended.
Uh.
But you have something. So that approximation we are making here.
So that approximation is considered in the boundary conditions while writing the boundary.
Exactly. We will assume when we will be analyzing region 1, assuming that this height change is not there, as if I'm just independently considering region 1. That is actually one little limitation here, but with that limitation also, whatever we get analyze the waveguide, that gives a very good match to the experimental result. Acceptable?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So anything you design, any device, electronic device or any electromagnetic device or any optical device, if you just follow entirely all the theory, you will be ending up with a very complicated situation. You will never be able to design somehow good, accurate devices. It may take long time for all computation, etc. So if you do a little bit of approximation and come close to a real picture, real solution, then that is good enough, workable solution. Okay, so here also this assumption is just to consider that okay, it is working, whether it is giving some kind of solution which is very much close to your actual solution, in spite of considering this approximation. If you find some deviations are there, you can always say that okay, I have that approximation, because of that little bit deviation I am getting. Okay, but as far as this gives you a lot of hassle-free solution, I think why not? This is the way of engineering design. Okay, so now you just go for this thing, region 1. Now if you just consider in this case, what are the components for TE mode is there? For example, I am having 0 UI component, and EZ component will be there, and HX 0 HY component, right? So now you see, I have electric field which is in the YZ plane, right? That is your TE-like mode. Electric field supposed to be in the YZ plane, correct? So YZ plane, if it is electric field is there, both in this interface and in this interface, electric field is tangential, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means my boundary condition I can easily consider like a T-like mode, right? If I am trying to confine in this region, so I can consider like a TE mode solution. So whenever I am considering here, I can use our TE solution for 1D waveguide. Okay, so that is true, and for not only region 1, that is true for region 2 also, because region 1 and region 2 situation is same. It can happen that some situation you can happen that region 3 you can have height is different. Let us consider different height. Let us consider this is H1 and this is your H2, and that can also give you a solution. Okay, so in that case I can differently choose something like this for region 1. Let us consider. Okay, so if I consider region 1, I can get a set of solutions. And what those set of solutions? Those set of solutions I can consider, say, I will be getting n effective 0 for region 1, n effective 1 for region 1, n effective 2 for region 1. You understand? I can get a solution using same formula, right? That same formula means 2 times h1 2 pi by lambda n1 cos theta I m minus phi u minus phi l equal to 2m pi. This equation I will be using. Phi u and phi l also, it depends on, you can solve depending on this geometry. You can consider h1 here, thickness instead of d, I am considering this one, and in that case I will be getting solution for theta im, theta I0, theta I1, so on. Whatever we have discussed for 1D waveguide, same way we are solving. And once we solve that one, I can find n effective equal to n1, whatever solutions you get, cos theta im, if it is there. Is that correct? I did a mistake, someone correct me.
Sin theta im.
It should be a sin theta. That is n effective, correct. Longitudinal component, right? That is actually your coming for the beta. So I can solve region 1 for their guiding mode solution with effective index, because effective index solution is the most important part, because that actually gives you how is the phase velocity, and that also can give you the ultimate solution, what would be the mode solutions, how many modes will be there. I can get as many solutions I want, and some of them, some point you will see that this n effective higher order solution, some point maybe mth solutions you will be getting region 1 which is less than n1. Sorry, yes, which is less than n2 or n3. Suppose you are getting effective index which is less than n2 and n3. Will that be a guided mode? Anyone?
No, sir, you won't have TIR anymore.
Because n effective, whatever n effective you get, that should be higher than the cladding. That should be higher than the both cladding, effective index of the both cladding. So this solution, as long as you get that they are actually greater than or equal to n2 or n3, whichever is the lower, whichever is the higher, okay, they should be greater than n2, otherwise mode will not be confined. So you get a number of solutions using this equation, and this equation, whenever you are using phi u and phi l, you have to use the T solutions, the phase during total internal reflection, phase change, whatever you have T and Tm, two different equations, right? So you use them, then you get a solution. So similarly, you will be getting a solution for you can get, sorry, so you get a solution for region 2. Also region 2 you can use for TE mode. Then you will be getting n effective 0 for region 2, n effective 1 for region 2, n effective 2 for region 2, n effective 3 for region 2. I have a quick question. So region 1 or region 2, if you compare, in which region you will be getting more number of valid solutions?
Region 2. Region 2.
Region 2, why?
Because H is greater than. greater.
Yeah, because height is more, so effective index will be more, because in that case you are using this instead of H1. What you will be using? You will be using capital H. So in that case, solutions will be accordingly changed. Okay, and suppose if I compare N effective 0, 1 and N effective 0, 2, which one will be higher? If I compare these two, which one will be higher? You see, you said that more number of modes will be there, and if you calculate effective index, which one will be higher?
2, sir. Region 2.
Yeah, region 2, so that will be higher. I am considering fundamental mode in region 1, fundamental mode in region 2. So because higher thickness gives you higher effective index. Even if it is fundamental to fundamental, you compare. So once it is less than N effective is less than this one, if you are just considering N effective 1 and region 1, that is also less than this one. Because this one again, the N effective 1, we know that N effective 1, 0 should be greater than N effective 1 region 1, right? So that means if I say this is less than N effective 0, this is also less than this one, N effective 0. Is that clear? So I'm just again solving for T solutions of 1D waveguide. Now region 3. Region 3, I will be getting again N effective 0, 3 and N effective 1, 3, N effective 2, and so on. So same logic, yeah. So I can say that this one is the highest, and then this one is the high, this one and that one will be going, and that should be always greater than equal to N2, N3. Any questions, doubt? You can clarify now. You have to visualize things. Fine. Now next thing is that, so I have solved 3 1D optical waveguide using the same method, whatever you have used. And you have used TE like mode. Initially you are considering like TE. Now I take region 1. What is the highest refractive index? Fundamental mode. Right? Region 1. Region 2, what is the highest effective index? Also fundamental mode. N effective 0, also 3, region 3 I am considering. So I can construct another 1D waveguide based on that. And I'm sure that you will be getting N effective 0, region 2 must be greater than N effective 0, region 1 and N effective 0, region 3. Because their height are different, smaller. So N effective 2 fundamental, that will be higher. So I can construct a 4th 1D waveguide using this thing, this refractive index. I can consider region 2 as a core, whatever things are coming, that as a core, and this is one cladding, one side cladding, and this is other side cladding. So I can model like right now like this. So I can consider this one N effective 0, region 2, and this is actually N effective 0, region 1 and N effective 0, region 3, and the condition is same. N effective, I can write N effective 0 obviously will be getting greater than N effective 0, 1, and depending on the age their relationship will be there, N effective 0, 3. Now can you tell me how axis will be defined? This direction, and this direction. This is 1D waveguide. This will be This direction, what will be this direction?
Set.
Set. And what would be that direction?
X.
Really? Let me see. You see, I have considered region 1 effective index, region 2 effective index, and region 3 effective index. So if I just go from region 1 to region 3, which direction you see here? Region 1, region 2, region 3, that is stretched along which direction?
Y direction.
So we have to consider that one as a y direction, right? This is y. So whenever I am considering 1D waveguide, first 3 1D waveguide, that time z and x direction. And then when I am considering modeled one, the fourth one, that time I have to check what is the original structure. Based on that, I have to consider. Clear? What is this one now? What would be the thickness of this 1D waveguide?
W.
It should be W. Correct? It should be W. Now in this case, again I can solve 2 times W times N effective, 0 for 2, right? And 2 pi by lambda cosine theta I minus phi u minus phi L equal to 2m pi. This solution. I have started originally with the T mode, and first 3 waveguide I have solved with the T mode, T-like mode I consider. And first 3 optical waveguide, region 1, region 2, they are TE mode. Now here, if I solve this one, what mode I should consider for phi u and phi L? Because their equations are different, isn't it? So in this case, what mode will be considering? Because you know, I have electric field will be EY, EZ. That is the electric field, and magnetic field will be HX, 0, HZ. So in this case, when I am just reduced that 2D waveguide into this 1D waveguide, then in this case, which solution I will use for phi u and phi L? TE or TM?
TM, sir.
TM. Because this is YZ plane. You see electric field is in the YZ plane. That is not tangential to the interface. So that means we have to consider TM solution for this one. Your originally TE-like mode, but first 3 waveguide you are solving using TE solutions. And fourth one, whenever you are getting, depending on the boundary condition, if you see how is the electric field oriented, depending on that, you have to use TM solutions. Use that one and then find next. Using this one, you can calculate theta I solutions. And from that theta I solutions, what you will be getting? N effective 0, 0, N effective 0, 1, N effective 0, 2, N effective 0, 3, and so on. Can you recognize why I am using this type of indices?
We are considered fundamental.
The first one is we are considering fundamental mode of the 3 regions. Region 1, region 2, region 3. I have used only fundamental mode, right? That 0 I am carrying in the first indices. And second one, whatever solutions I am getting. And obviously again you will be getting that one, this one greater than equal to, and this one will be greater than equal to one of these 2 cladding, both the cladding, this will be greater. So when it will be less than any solution you are getting, that will not be a solution. And next thing what you could get, next highest order is N effective 1 to 2, right? You use the same solution and instead of 0 you are putting 1 here. But this cladding I can use same, N effective 0 and this one. You know why? Because these are the highest effective index in this region 2 and region, I think, region 2 2, and region 2 is the highest, region 1 and region 3. So core region, I am going for a next solution, highest solution. And you have to check if that next highest solution is higher than the n effective 0 and n effective 0 for region 1 and region 3. If that is higher, you can construct another 1D waveguide. And in that case, whatever solution you will be getting n effective 1, 0, n effective 1, 1, n effective 1, 2, n effective 1, 3. And they will be again like this. So you have to go forward as long as you get they are not getting leaked. Up to here, you could visualize, all of you. Any doubt, you just ask me, because this is very crucial. So ultimately, this 2D waveguide, we are getting a solution like with 2 indices, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and so on. So that type of mode, we'll be calling that T-like mode, 0, 0, corresponding to whenever I am getting this solution. And I can consider T is 0, 1 corresponding to this one. And I am getting T-like, of course, you have to write T, 0, 2 corresponding to this one. And similarly, I can write T, 0, 1, 0, T, 1, 1, TE 1, 2, and so on. So as many solutions you get, which is supposed to be confined, they are actually solutions. You can control W value, H value, and small h value so that you get only this solution. Others will be leaky. So then that will be a single mode waveguide. Any doubt? Lot of things to think. So this is called effective index method. Analyzing 2D optical waveguide using effective index method. And till the time actually the Maxwell solvers were not available, people used to take this method for solving 2D optical waveguide, whether it is a single mode or not. So I can ask you to design the N1, N2, N3 different material I will be giving, and then find a set of solutions W, H, and small h, capital H, so that the guide will give you only one solutions. One mode will be guiding, other modes, even if you excite, that will be a leaky mode. That will not be confined. So this is a very nice approach. It needs little bit of mathematical rigor, but it is a semi-analytical method. You get directly to design what would be the parameters needed for a given set of material system for single mode guidance. Any doubt? Anywhere, any doubt till now? So only thing is that you are all the 1D, you have reduced a 2D optical waveguide into 4 1D optical waveguides. 4 even more, depending on how many you are in. At least first you are decomposing into 3 1D waveguide, and from that those analysis you can judge how many more 1D optical waveguide you have to model to find the solutions. But once your code, for example MATLAB code, if you are setting up for solving this type of things, so you can step by step you can get what would be the final solution, and you can judge quickly what would be the single mode. So this is a very nice method to design a single mode waveguide in silicon. You can quickly tell that okay, this is going to be a single mode guide. Suppose I have a set. For example, I have a constant. For example, this H is a constant because you know that is actually commercially available SOI substrate. Okay, maybe I can put another one things. So I know that okay, this is your substrate, and this is your box, and this is your device layer, where this H is fixed. This is your SOI that is given. You don't have much option for that. Whatever wafer you are buying, optical grade wafer, depending on that, this H is there. Box is actually, that is not in your hand. It is kept so that the evanescent tail should be decayed sufficiently. It should not leak to the silicon substrate. Okay, normally 2 micron to 3 micrometer it is used. Okay, now if I ask you, okay, for a given age, find W value and small h value, a set of W value, h, small h value, so that you get a single mode guidance. So h can be, we have designed earlier, h can be as high as 5, 10 micron. So depending on the, you have to find W and H value so that you can get only one feasible solution which can give you a confined mode. Other solutions, they will be leaky mode. Their refractive index will be such, the effective refractive index will be such that it will be leaked to the substrate. Okay. So this is the nice method, and you can have 5 micron, 10 micron, and you can have also as small as H equal to 220 nanometer. Currently, CMOS industry using 220 nanometer. And in that case, W will be typically in the order of 500 nanometer or 450 nanometer typically. And H can be, it can range from 160 nanometer to 0, small h. Then it can be more or less a single mode. When you are calculating single mode guidance, you have to look for both TE and TM, initially starting from TE-like mode and initially starting from TM-like mode. Then you can consider this thing. So you should keep in mind also that here I said that whenever you are just considering 3 different regions for TE-like mode, this one is TE, this one TE, 3 1D waveguide, and you are considering like TE. But whenever your starting mode is TM, you want to solve for TM-like mode, then region 1, region 2, region 3, you have to consider like a TM-like mode solution. And then whenever it is derived finally, that time you will be considering TE. So other way. So alternately you can consider. So this is too much to describe today. I think what I suggest that if you want to get a real feeling of this type of design, solve yourself. You take one assignment and design 1D waveguide. For example, I think Subarna, you can actually set one question that give a H, capital H value and ask them to, for T-like mode, find a solution for what would be the width and small h. Some kind of assignment you can give. Yeah. So if you do that, your feelings will be better, and you can do both T and TM.
For 2D waveguide, right?
For 2D waveguide. 1D though you have given.
Yeah.
So for 2D also you can give that how to design a single, find out a parameter for a single mode guidance. Parameter means for a given capital H, what would be the width and slab height.
Okay.
So that it will only guide one TE polarization or TE00 mode. Okay, fine. Okay, so now I will tell you one thing. I don't know why echo. There are some limitations in this type of waveguide structure. So you cannot always solve the method I have used, I have discussed so far for analyzing things. For example, you have a W, this one, right? You can get this one. And this is your small h. And this is your capital H. And the way I have discussed, one thing is that you can get the single mode guidance cutoff number of modes depending on WH, small h, you can find that easily, straightforward way. But sometimes what happens, your material system is not that like this type of things. Also, you need sometimes a little bit modified system. In that case, how to solve? For example, I'm giving you one solution, one quick example. Let us consider things. Sometimes this silicon waveguide is used for modulator purpose, where actually how that modulator we'll discuss later, but here I'm just giving you example. Here, suppose you have a guided mode like this. It has T n effective 0, 0 you are getting, supposed to get here, n effective 0, 0 for fundamental mode and T polarization, something like that. But for modulator purpose, what you do, you make some kind of pin structure. Suppose this region, you are doping with a P-type material, and this region you are doping with a N-type. Normally, when you design your optical waveguide, the material should be intrinsic. You know why it is intrinsic? Anyone? Intrinsic means no doping. For optical waveguide, you need an intrinsic semiconductor. Why is that?
Like if there is, okay,
Go ahead.
no, so like in this case, I was thinking like if there is p-type and n-type, then
No,
there is a difference.
forget about p-type, n-type for the moment. Normally, I said for waveguide design in silicon, you prefer that silicon on insulator that should be intrinsic, doping free.
The impurities may scatter the light, and
No, that
total
is
internal reflection may not.
no. Whenever you are doping, that is not that are not giving really scattering points. Only silicon site phosphorus is taking place, or boron. That is n-type, p-type doping, right?
Sir,
silicon-
maybe there may be a charge that develops like
No charge. Normally, when if you dope, that is actually
neutral, but
neutral. Yeah.
like once you pass light, then maybe some charges start, like some kind of
That means when you dope, you have a free carrier.
yeah.
You have electron or holes, right?
Yes, sir.
So sigma is there.
That's what.
Sigma can contribute to loss, right? So that is actually attenuation. Alpha, beta, if you just see for a electromagnetic solution initially, this. So that contributes loss. So if sigma equal to 0, that is better for optical waveguide. Attenuation will be 0. So normally you prefer intrinsic, but you can dope both sides, p-type and n-type. And then you can give some kind of bias. You know, it is a semiconductor. Then what happens? You can inject say p-type p carrier holes from this side and electrons from this side. So you can little bit control the carrier, free carrier in the guiding region. So if you somehow control the guiding region, some free carrier, you are actually supposed to give some kind of refractive index change. Some real part it will be changed and some imaginary part also will be changed, refractive index. So in that case, you get some kind of phase modulation. You can modulate. So modulator purpose, you just do something like that. And whenever you are doping also, the doped region, your refractive index dielectric constant is modified. And here also your refractive index dielectric constant is modified. And sometimes it can happen that this doping region also you are doing like this. You penetrate into the reef structure also. And sometimes it can happen that this p-type doping, it may not be step type. It's some kind of gradient is there, doping. So that means when depending on the doping, you can see some kind of dielectric constant also. Gradient you will be seeing here also. So that means you are ending up with a system where the refractive index is no more a step type, kind of function of position. So refractive index will become function of x and y. If it is something like that, this is your this is y, right? This is y, x, and yeah, this is z, x, y, z. This is your z direction. So in the xy plane, it is becoming refractive index. It's not like a step type. Earlier, it is also xy dependent. Cladding was there, but within the core region, we see that refractive index is modulated. So in that case, it is not so easy to use effective index method. Effective index method we have discussed earlier. So we need to, we are helpless then. So we can do some kind of approximation, some kind of tentative results, everything. But I think mostly we don't trust on those type of things. Nowadays, Maxwell's solver is there. Maxwell's equation solver is there. We have to use directly solving things. And probably you can try to get some kind of approximation afterwards. You start with Maxwell's equation and then see where you can do some kind of approximation and then proceed. So ray optics picture will be failed completely. Whatever the ray optics picture, effective index method picture we are considering so far, that will be failed because you don't see real interface, because refractive index has some kind of gradient. So we will be just now going into the practical type of device where probably you may not get simple rib structures, and you have to have some kind of doping, and sometimes material system can happen that from the surface layer to bottom layer it is like a refractive index profile is there. So in that case you have to use directly Maxwell's equation and try to find out what could be the solution. Okay, I want to stop here. Any question? If not, I can quit.